Hello there and welcome to my studio. My name is Matthew Palmer and I'm here with Search Press for their Christmas festival. Looking forward to this, folks. We're going to paint a watercolour Christmas card. So it's a watercolour greetings card kit. Now you get 10 sheets of watercolour paper, you get 10 bevel mounts, you get 10 envelopes and the pre-scored card with instructions. Now we do actually sell these on the website on allthews.watercolour.tv, so do check out the website. You can see it here on the screen, all the W's watercolour.tv, and do check it out. Now I want to pass this to my assistant who's hiding here. Look, there it is. Thank you. Pop that away, whoever that is. No idea. It's like the thing from Adam's Family. Get down to the palette. So just want to briefly touch on the palette. I've got a few colours hanging around. So we have basically primary, just kick these away. We've basically got primary colours, nice and simple. We've got some blue. We've got some blue there, which is natural blue in this case. We've got some red. This one is natural red. We've got some natural yellow light as well. And I've got some white paint. So 3 primary colours, red, yellow, blue. I've got some white paint. All these are my own brand of colours. Again, everything is available on watercolour.tv. Click on the art shop. All these links in the description below. I've popped a square to them. And I have just a couple of brushes, to be fair. That's all I want for this. Just a couple of brushes. So what we've got here is a size 6 round watercolour brush and a size 10 round watercolour brush. So just 2 brushes is all you need for this, because if you're painting Christmas cards, you don't want to be spending a lot of time necessarily on each picture. It depends how many friends you've got, I suppose, or family, should I say. But it's a quick process for me, and that is one of the things I really enjoy about this. Now, the actual paper size is around about an A5 size. So let's paint in this Christmas card, folks. We're going to do a nice kind of scene with some sort of pine trees and that kind of thing. So a wintry sort of themed watercolour would work an absolute treat for this. It really would. I am going to start off very simply by taking some masking tape, and I want to remove the stickiness from this. You can see I've stuck this down already to a piece of wood, but I'm also going to pop this on, and it's probably going to go about a third, and I'm just going to lightly add a bit of character, so roughly a third up. I want to give it a few little bends and a few little sort of, just a bit of a wave, nice and sealed. Then we can paint in the sky at the top. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the size 10 brush to wet the top section of the watercolour paper. I want to go for a nice colourful sky. I'm not working to any reference material here. There's no photographs, there's nothing. I'm purely and simply working from my head, which is quite worrying. But please do stick through to the end, because you will enjoy this, folks. It will not be like watching paint dry. Hopefully it won't be like watching paint dry. Plenty of water gone on there. Let's get into the old palette then. There it is, and let's pick up some colours. My first colour is going to be something quite warm because it's a cold day today. So we've got some yellow and a bit of the red. Again, any 3 primary colours. Beautiful. So we've mixed orange. You can't go wrong with that. Let's get back to the picture. You can smell the fear. What we're going to do here is we're going to work up on an angle and add some colour to the base. I want to go quite vibrant with the colours on this one, because I think a snow scene can be a bit warm, can't it? It doesn't have to be a cold picture. So that's an orange colour we've mixed there. Back down to the palette, let's mix up some violet. We can mix violet simply by using blue, of course, and red. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. There it is. Quite strong, to be fair, because maybe later we'll put some falling snow in this one. But we'll see how we go. I mean, that's the great thing about this. So I'm painting a sky. And I'm weaving it down, crossing the brush over, and getting plenty of colour creeping in across that background. Please don't be afraid to use strong watercolours, especially for something like a wintry scene, because the contrast is going to pop off the paper. Again, I just want to say that this is a demonstration. And if you've ever purchased any of my books from Search Press, you'll know the quality of the books are very, very high quality, broken down, beautiful step-by-step detail. That's what Search Press are really good at. They've got a 50-year history of producing quality, and that's what you're going to get from a Search Press book. So do please check out my books. Again, there's a link in the description below where you can buy some signed copies, which is quite nice. Let's get close into this then. Let's get close into this little sky here. Beautiful. And what I'm going to do here is paint in some distant trees. All right, I'm going to paint in some distant trees. And for this, I want to make strong colours. Size 6 brush, or is it a size 9 brush? I'm never sure which way to hold it. It's a size 9 now, but then it's a size 6 if we... It's been a long day today. Right, so what we'll do is we'll take some more blue. Lots of blue, nice and deep for your blue. Add a little bit of green. Sorry, I meant to say add a bit of yellow, which will turn it green. Call yourself a professional, Mr. Palmer. There we go. Beautiful bit of rich vibrancy there. Thick green is what we're talking about. Quite dark, so probably, you know, 80% blue, that kind of thing. And here we're going to have some distant pine trees, a beautiful distant pine forest. And all the time I'm doing this, which is quite nice, while the paper is a bit wet. Make sure your paper's still wet. Is it me or is it moist? Make sure you check it out. Lots of little vertical lines in the background. The paint is spreading. Imagine you're dropping ink onto a wet piece of paper. That's the kind of effect that we're trying to achieve here. And that's exactly what I'm interested in on this particular stage of the picture. We're talking distance here. We're talking what's in the background. And this is just distance. Now I'm fading this off into the centre. So I've got smaller, less paint on the brush. And I love how the paint feathers. I love how the paint feathers. It spreads, it disappears, it becomes part of the background. What I want to do now is go for grey. Now, you can actually buy a grey ready-made. It's called Matthew Palmer's Natural Grey. But here, for this particular painting, we are just using the 3 colours. So we can mix this quite simply by mixing all 3 colours together. So your blue, still snowing. I love it. Your blue, your red, your yellow. But if we've got that dark green, all we need to do in theory is just add a little bit of red to that. And the red into that green will actually go grey. Would you believe it? There you go. Beautiful grey. We've created a grey from primary colours, which is better than actually using colours that are contain black pigment. Because one thing you don't want to do for shadows and things is create dark areas. So nice and dark at the base. Yeah, if you used Payne's grey for this, it'd just leap out at you, and Payne's grey does contain black pigment, so that's why I always recommend that people avoid that one. So I've gone for quite a tall tree. It's either a tall tree or a distant telegraph pole. Nobody knows. No one knows. But we can make it look more like a tree by adding some little vertical, well, actually, like a diagonal line, to be fair, pointing up towards the sky. So we're creating some little pine trees. Again, you know, if you're painting a Christmas card for, you know, in mass production kind of thing, I mean, one thing you don't want to do is spend a huge amount of time on each one, unless that's what works for you. But look how that's given us that tree, and it's brought the tree closer to us. Now I'm going to bring another one of those in. Again, I'm just using this number 6 brush, folks. It is quite a pointy one. The paper is just at that starting point of drying now, so which is perfect for what I want for this particular little mini seasonal, mini festive watercolour. The paper is still damp. It's a beautiful surface that I'm working on. It does make a difference having a good quality paper, so always encourage people to get a nice quality watercolour paper. Nice and dark along that then. And this is the bit where people come unstuck. Let's come back. Remember, we are originally live, albeit you might be watching this back at a later stage. Tilt it forward, a nice gentle tug of that paper, and hopefully we've got no seepage, because nobody wants seepage. Nobody wants seepage, do they? But if you do get a bit of seepage down the back, lower your tape. Lower your tape, and if you lower your tape, you can just paint a extended tree, if that makes sense. We've got distance, we've got a little bit of close-up happening as well. Happy with that. As it dries, the light reflection, can you see the light reflection? That's caused by the studio lights here. So that will disappear. But let's get creative at the bottom. While that's having a little bit of time to dry, what I want to do, folks, is just want to show you a couple of my books that I've done with Search Press. Here we've got the watercolour. Look at that for a close-up. Watercolour for the absolute beginner, folks. This book is one of Search Press's best-selling watercolour books, so do please check it out. It's full to the rafters of step-by-step tutorials on watercolour painting in beautiful, gorgeous Search Press step-by-step detail. You can't beat the quality of these books, folks. They are really well produced, and a big shout out to all the team at Search Press that put so much hard work into these, the editors and the management and the marketing guys. It really is a huge project doing a book. A book normally takes a couple of years from start to finish, so you can see, look at some of the beautiful scenes you can create here. So yeah, it's a book of two halves, because the first half is very much how to paint little mini things like painting figures, and you know, how to do trees, reflections, and all the essentials. It's like a little bit of a watercolor guidebook, and that one is simply watercolor for the absolute beginner. Check it out. And then we've got one here that's quite relevant to today in a little way. Watercolor mountains. I do love painting mountains. This is part of the Take 3 Colours range. Again, just head on over to Search Press's website, have a look in the links below, you'll see the books. But this book here contains 6 projects, and look at that for a bit of inspiration, hey? If that photo is not going to get you painting, nothing will. Maybe. Anyway, 6 projects, in fact 9 projects, actually there's 9 projects in that book, all done with the 3 colours that we're using today. Do check it out, folks. That is a beautiful one to have a look at. And we also have a book called Watercolour Animals by Matthew Palmer. Check that out as well. Painting Without Paint is a book that's based on using your tablet as well. And there's some up and coming books that are coming out in the new year as well. So do have a look. All the information is below the video. That should be dry by now. Let's get back to it. It's about time, Mr. Palmer. Let's get back to it and painting something at the base. Let's put a little bit of landscape at the bottom. Yeah, you can see it's just starting to dry now. It's still got a little bit of a sheen to it, but that'll all settle in. Let's work at the bottom of the painting now, folks. We can get close into this. And the colour is going to be a violet. I want to use some violet in this picture. Okay. When you think of snow, you think of white, but you do get shadows, and a good colour for a shadow in snow is a violet. So a bit of blue with a tiny little spot of red works an absolute treat. So let's get that mixed up then. So basically we're going to use some blue, not too strong, with a little bit of red, just a touch of red. Less is more for the red, but that colour would be perfect for painting a wintry shadow. I want to put some detail in this picture as we progress through. So using that colour, beautiful colour, I want to go nice and dark in this corner here. Just using a number 6 brush for this, that's all. Clean brush. Got some kitchen paper, because I do sometimes get a little bit emotional when I'm painting, so that's for wiping up the tears or for dabbing off the excess water, which is a good thing to do, especially when you're doing blending like this, because you need to get that colour and you need to be tapering the colour away so it nicely fades into the distance there for a nice snow scene. It's quite apt that we're doing this, because it's been snowing here today in Derbyshire, which is where I'm based, Derbyshire in the UK, and yeah, it has been snowing, so which is good. A little bit of snow. Very cold. There we go. So that's got a nice shadow, and that shadow will lift it up. It'll bring it towards us. Now, where's your light coming from? I reckon the light's coming this way from the right hand side of that. So let's go for this, and let's pop in some shadows casting down from these two tall trees. Let's bring those right over, and then we'll get a few little lines coming this way. So directional lines for these tall trees. Get the cast, the beautiful cast shadow. You can almost imagine there's another one off. Can I say off-piste? Maybe. Just did. I apologise. I'll cut that bit out. What we'll do is we'll bring this over. Like so. And that's giving us a lovely sort of light casting across the snow. Still adding more detail to this. Do bear with me. Do bear with me. Little bits at a time. I want to pick up that grey, the same grey that I used in those trees, just to be a little bit darker at the base of the pine trees. Because if the shadow is meeting that object, it's going to be really dark. So I'm actually using some of that grey. It's still there. It's just gone a bit dry. So I'm just adding a bit of water to it. Just to refresh. Perfect. And also, if we get a wee bit closer in there, we can also go in and just add a little bit of extra darkness to the base of these trees as well. So really giving this a nice bit of darkness, a bit of shadow. Yes, I'm going to put some snow on this as well. So do please bear with me on this one. Again, very much a demonstration. So it's always important to keep them separate, workshops and demos. A demo is very much, you know, me working at my own little happy pace. Whereas a workshop is giving you guys time to, you know, sort of work along. So, brilliant. Nice, that's good. Happy with that. That's got a nice little bit of a shadowy thing going off there. A nice bit of texture. Again, it really wants just a little moment to dry that, and then we can have some nice detail. I'm painting a tall tree over here. That will not take long to dry, not at all. So I want to paint a nice tall tree. Let's come back with the camera so you can see where we're looking with this. But we've got a nice scene at that point. I want to be mixing up a very dark green at this point. So if we get back to the palette, very similar to what I used before, I can mix it over that same area. So it's lots of blue, but quite heavy with the blue, and then just a little dot of yellow. If you ever want to make a green darker, more like a sage tone, just add a little bit of red to it, just a touch of red, but only a little bit, because too much will turn it brown, and it gives you a wonderful deep green pine tree kind of green going off, which is what I'm interested in on this picture. Okay, brill. What I want to do now, I think it's dry enough to do this actually, so I want to take another little bit of sticky tape, masking tape, stick it to the hand to remove stickiness, and I want to pop this just about here on a slight downward slope, just a little bit of a slope. Just going to pop that there, that little bit. Now this is going to be the base of a tall tree. I've also got the grey handy as well. You know, from the three colours that we spoke about, it's the blue first, a little bit of red, which makes your colour purple, and then add a little bit of yellow, and that will give you a grey. It makes such a difference. Everything's got shadows, you know, from shadows in your hand to shadows in the room. It really makes such a big difference, so well worth the energy on that one. Okay, let's go for this then. So let's start off with the green. That's the sort of main colour here, and I'm going to go for this. Now if this kind of thing scares you, just close your eyes and do it, but we're going to paint a tall line. Steady on, steady on. Oh, my heart's going. Tense it doesn't. And then we'll paint in this tree. Now, at the bottom of the tree, we're going to have more of the grey. So I've got the grey in the palette, you know, the three colours. Nice and rich for this. Don't be afraid. Be terrified. Bring it in. And you can see, can't you, just how thick that paint actually is here. It's really strong stuff. And this is more of a close-up tree, obviously, so that nice richness. And like I said, I'll put some snow on this as well to make it nice. And there's a few ways to add snow. I'll show you one particular way. It's worth checking out my YouTube channel as well, folks, which again is a link in the description. There's hundreds of free demos on there over the years of me doing the old watercolour, so do make sure you check that out. Also check out the Facebook page as well, Matthew Palmer Artist on Facebook, so have a little look at that. We've got a really cool watercolour group as well, Matthew Palmer's watercolour group, and there's lots of inspiration there as well. It's a great place to chat about painting. You can ask me questions there as well, so if you'd like to join, do please check it out. It's as I keep saying, everything is in the description below. So these branches are pointing up towards the sky, and then we'll get some little spot of spots at the top. A beautiful rich colour for that tree there. I love that. Nice. Can't beat a nice pine tree. And of course, because we've we've got some at the back, it really helps to give a bit of nice bit of scale there. So, you know, feel free to make it as tall as you need to, but as long as it's taller than these two guys at the back, it'll work fine. So it's well worth having a little think about the scale of it. I'll put the grey at the bottom, that always gives a nice bit of shadow. And then we'll take the tape off nice and steady. Look at that. Oh, oh, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, we've got the violet still, you know, for the shadow. Because we've got to put the shadow on. I'm just adding a bit of water to freshen it up, but it's still there, loitering in the palette. Let's get a bit of a shadow. It's going to be quite a dark shadow here. Dark shadow. Let's get a bit of, give it a bit of a base. Again, I'll just squeeze in some of that grey, especially where it meets the ground, because that will really help it to sit, ground it. It's going to be quite dark down there, isn't it? Lovely. And then I'm going to take that dark green again and add a few little blades of grass and things poking up in the foreground here. Little twigs and things kind of poking out of the snow here. This is better than being outside, isn't it? It's a bit rough out there at the minute, certainly. It's windy and everything else. So, is it windy where you are? It's not very windy in the studio. Well, I did have a bit of a curry last night, so I'm sorry. I can't help myself. Let's just put some little spots and dots around here. Give it a bit of interest. And I want to put some shadows on these that are quite nice as well. So once I've put those little branches on, I always like to make them stand up, these little branches. How would you make a branch stand up? You would add a shadow to it. So if I take some of that violet and pop some little flicks of violet from the base of them, they do actually surprisingly look as though they are stood up, don't they? They've got that bit of a shadow. I want to keep working on the shadow from that tree as well, give that a bit more interest. Really nice to see that little bit of a shadow. Let's just come back and darken the base of that tree there now, because it's all dry. Everything's nice and dry. Dries pretty quickly, does watercolour, so there's no need to worry about drying times. And also you can reactivate watercolour as well, so it's never a major problem if it does dry a little bit. Just add a bit more colour to it. Bro, okay, so that's basically the card waiting for some snow. It's made quite a nice little scene. I'm just adding a few little hints and things here. I've picked up some of the green there and popped a few little bits on the base of that tree, and that'll give that a bit more detail as well. Perfect. And then let's get down to the palette. I've got a scrap piece of paper here because when I use white paint I like to pop it on a scrap, and the white paint I'm actually using is actually natural white. It's my own white colour what I've developed. It's a fluid white that's quite easy to paint with, so I just pop a squirt of that there. It's just Matthew Palmer white. Have a look at it on the website. You could use gouache, you could use goulash if you want to. Anything goes. Little tiny bit of water is all you need. Too much water and that just disappears. So it wants to be quite thick. And I'm just using the number 6 brush here to pop some of that on. Beautiful, thick watercolour white. Lovely. Back to the picture. Then what I want to do here is just make sure we can see what we're doing. I'm going to start off by putting some falling snow, I think. Let's put some little random bits of white in the sky. Doesn't want a huge amount, obviously, but a few little random bits would give it a bit of a wintry feel. Nice. Yeah, it all makes sense. Obviously as much or as little as you want to. I would also drop some of those over the top of the tree as well, you know, especially the distant trees, because it looks as though the snow's obviously falling in front of them. And then using a dry brush is opposite as a wet one, so you basically tap off the excess on the tissue, and then I can pop some snow some of this white on this tree here. Just add little bits of white. If I'm honest, the green is still a little bit damp, but it's okay. I'm still going to go for it because I'm using the white pure. There's very little water. A big mistake is too much water when you do use white, so watch out for the amount of water, because what can happen is the paint just dries and disappears. So you just got to make sure that you get the, that's good, don't it? Just got to make sure that you've got the consistency right here. So you can use masking fluid, but there's something nice about using white paint, if I'm honest. Quite a fan of it, as you can probably gather. Just a little bit of snow coverage on the tree. This is definitely like watching paint dry. And then we'll add a few little hints in the background. I'm not too concerned about there because it's kind of in the mist. So as far as putting white paint on the background tree, I wouldn't be going over the top with it. A little bit is enough, I think, back there, you know. So yeah, if you've ever come across white, whether it's my white or any white, and you're using it and it just like disappears, it's because you've got too much water on your brush. So just watch out for the amount of water that is on your brush. You can get your paint nice and thick, and that's what makes this white different. Is it's quite a runny white from the tube. It's not a thick white from the tube, so you don't have to really add any water. Just a damp brush is all you want for white paint, or for this particular one anyway. That makes quite a difference, don't it? It looks very, very festive and a nice wintry scene there with all the little bits of detail. And you've probably noticed me popping a little bit over here as well, just a little bit in the foreground to make it look as though there's a bit of a mound. Gives a bit of texture to it as well, don't it? You know, just in front of the tree, a little bit of pure white paint. Beautiful. Perfect. There we go. So nice bit of white. It's quite addictive, this, putting the white on. One of my favourite bits. Little bits of texture. Little teeny weeny bits of texture. Really effective, isn't it, that? And you know what's quite satisfying? A good mount. You can't beat a good mount. And you get mounts with these kits. These are the mounts I'm obviously talking about, but you knew that. I'm going to pop that on because these come as part of the greetings card kits, and we'll pop those on, and it makes a lovely little festive watercolour to warm up. It gives you a warm feeling in the stomach, or maybe that was the curry, but it looks really nice. It looks festive. It's got a bit of festive cheer. All's missing is a bit of mulled wine, and we've nailed it. So that is the nicely detailed quick watercolour. You can see what a difference the white's made instantly. It's brought it forward, the falling snow. You can add as much detail as you like to these pictures, of course you can. Look at the beautiful shadows that we've got in the foreground as well. The casting, and we'll zoom back on this. So you can see the whole card. And that is a watercolour Christmas card, a nice sort of A5 size, roughly A5 size. Really enjoyed that, folks. Big shout out again, and a big thank you to all the folks over at Search Press for setting up this virtual Christmas kind of themed event. A big shout out to Monica and the team that works on all the social media side of things as well. So thank you for all you do. Hope you enjoyed that, folks. Do please think about checking out some of the books. Remember, that's just a couple of books we mentioned here, which was Matthew Palmer's Watercolour for the Absolute Beginner, and of course the Watercolour Mountains book. We've also got a book on painting animals as well. That's part of the Ready to Paint in 30 Minutes series. But just do a quick click on the link below and you'll see all the different books what I have published with Search Press. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. If not, have a great Christmas. That's probably the first time you've heard that. Have a wonderful Christmas. Enjoy the snow. And do think about booking onto one of my virtual painting workshops. Check out the Facebook page, Matthew Palmer Artist, and the Watercolour group as well, Matthew Palmer's Watercolour group. Have a wonderful winter painting season, and I will see you very soon for some more watercolour painting. And keep that paint flowing.